Welcome back, listeners, to Sandman Stories Presents, a folklore podcast where I read you to sleep or until the next story. I'm your host, Dustin. Today we are continuing with the Panchatantra. In the previous chapters, Victor has continued to campaign to separate Rusty from Lively and portray himself as a helpful advisor. In chapter 17, he tells the story of a lion and a carpenter to illustrate his story. Then in chapter 18, a story within a story begins with the plover telling his wife how he will beat the ocean. Okay, let's begin. Chapter 17. The Lion and the Carpenter. In a certain city there lived a carpenter named Trustgood. Every day he would go with his wife into the forest, where he cut great logs of anjan. Now in that forest there lived a lion named Spotless, who had as tagalongs 2 carnivorous creatures, a jackal and a crow. One day the lion was roaming in the woods alone, and he encountered the carpenter. The carpenter, upon seeing this most frightful lion, figured that all was lost, and he might as well face the music. So he advanced to meet the lion, bowed low, and said, "Come, my friend, come! Today you must eat dinner with me, a dinner that my wife, your brother's wife, has provided." "My good fellow," said the lion, "being carnivorous, I cannot live on rice. But in spite of that, I will have a taste, since I have taken a fancy to you. Tell me, what victuals have you packed?" When the lion had spoken, the carpenter stuffed him with all kinds of foods, buns, muffins, chewies, and all other things, all flavored with sugar, butter, grape juice, and spice. And to show his gratitude, the lion guaranteed his safety and granted him unhindered passage through the forest. Then the carpenter said, "Brother, you must return every day, but please come alone. You must not bring anyone else to visit me." In this manner they spent their days in friendship, and the lion, since he received such hospitality every day, with such a variety of goodies, he gave up the practice of hunting. Then the jackal and the crow, who survived on others' luck, went hungry, and they implored the lion. "Master," they said, "where do you go every day? And tell us why you come back so happy." "I don't go anywhere," he said. But when they pushed the question with great deference, the lion said, "A friend of mine comes to these woods every day. His wife cooks the most delicious things, and I eat them daily, in order as a courtesy." Then the jackal and the crow said, "We will go there, kill the carpenter, and have enough meat and offals to keep us fat for a long time." But the lion heard them and said, "Look here, I guaranteed his safety. How can I even imagine playing such a scurvy trick on him? Never mind, I will get a delicious tidbit for you too." To this they agreed. So the 3 started off to find the carpenter. While they were still far away, the carpenter caught a glimpse of the lion and his seedy companions, and he thought, "This does not look good for me." So he and his wife made hurriedly climb the tree. Then the lion came up and said, "My good fellow, why did you climb a tree when you saw me? Why, I'm your friend the lion. My name is Spotless. Do not be alarmed." But the carpenter stayed where he was and said, "Your jackal is not reassuring. Your crow's sharp bill offends. You therefore see me up a tree. I do not like your friends." And that is why I say, a king with shabby advisors brings no good to his dependents. After telling the story, Lively continued, "Somebody must have set Rusty against me. Besides, soft waters scarsy lied the mighty mountain's side, and leave it much diminished by those who have the trick to make a whisper stick. Man's gentleness is finished. Under these circumstances, what action is opportune? Indeed, there is nothing left save battle, for the proverb says, by gifts, by self-denial, by sacrificial trial, some slowly win to heaven. To him who yields his life, in glad heroic strife, quick entrance there is given." And again, "The slain attains the sky, the victor joyful lives, and hero are content with these alternatives." And once again, Gay maiden smart with gems and gold, the fly-flap's royal toy, throne, horse, and elephant and cash, the white umbrella, joy, and sign of monarch shun the coward, are not for mama's boy. When he heard this, Victor thought, the fellow has sharp horns and plenty of vigor. Perhaps he might strike down the master, if fate decree it. That would not do either, and the proverb says, even with heroes victory whimsically may alight. Try 3 other methods first, only in extremes fight. So I will use my wits to turn his thoughts from fighting. And he said, my dear fellow, that is not a good plan, because he loses fights who fights before his foeman's power is reckoned. The ocean and the plover fought, and the ocean came out second. How was that? Asked Lively. And Victor told the story of the plover who fought the ocean. Chapter 18. The Plover Who Fought the Ocean. A plover and his wife once lived by the shore of the sea, that mighty sea that teems with fish, crocodiles, turtles, sharks, dolphins, pearled oysters, shellfish, and other underwater life. The plover was called Sprawl, and his wife's name was Constance. In due time she became pregnant, and was ready to lay her eggs. So she said to her husband, please find a spot where I may lay my eggs. Why, he said, this home of ours, inherited from our ancestors, promises progress. Lay your eggs here. Oh, she said, don't mention this dreadful place. Here is the ocean near at hand. His tide might some day make a large reach and lick away my babies. But the plover answered, sweetheart, he knows me, he knows Sprawl. Surely the great ocean cannot show such enmity to me. Did you never hear this? What man is rash enough to take the gleaming crest jewel from the snake, or stir the wrath of one so dread, his glance may strike his victims dead? However summer heat distresses, in wild and treeless wildernesses, who after all would seek the shade by some rogue elephant's body made. And again, when morning's chilly breezes blow with whirling particles of snow, what man with sense of valor sure employs for cold the water cure? To visit death what man desires, so wakes the lion's sleeping fires, who tired from the slaying elephants, lies in a temporary trance. Who dares to visit and defy the death god, dares the fearless cry, I challenge you to single strife, if power be yours, pray take my life. What son of man, with simple wit, defies the fire and enters it, the smokeless flame that terrifies, whose tongue by hundreds lick the skies? But even as he spoke, his wife laughed outright, since she knew the full measure of his capacity, and she said, very fine indeed, there's plenty more where that came from, O king of birds. Your heavy boastings startle shock, and makes of you a laughing-stock. One marvels if the rabbit plants a dung-pile like the elephants. How can you fail to appreciate your own strength and weakness? There is a saying, to know oneself is hard, to no wise effort vain, but accurate self-critics are, secure in times of strain. This much effort brings success, I have the power, I can, so think then act and reap the fruit of your judicious plan. And there is sound sense in this. To take advice from kindly friends, be ever satisfied, the stupid turtle lost his grip upon the stick and died. How was that? Asked Sprawl, and Constance told the story of Shellneck, Slim, and Grim. To be continued. This is a story within a story, and it goes for a few chapters, so I'll stop here for now. And I will say to my listeners, thank you, and good night.